The latest archaeological evidence from ancient European sites is revealing something researchers never expected. The people who built these stone monuments weren't random primitive tribes. They were part of a connected network that shared knowledge across impossible distances. The Megalithic Yard proves it. This precise 2.72-foot measurement appears at over 300 sites from the Orkney Islands to the Mediterranean, built across thousands of years during the Neolithic and Bronze Age periods by people who supposedly never met. New litter scanning data from 2025 surveys at Stonehenge confirms millimeter-level precision that Stone Age builders shouldn't have been able to achieve. The discovery started with one man's obsession with measuring ancient stones. The engineer who refused to quit. Picture a man in his 60s trudging through Scottish moors with surveying equipment strapped to his back. The theodolite alone weighed 80 pounds. The tripod added another 40. Alexander Thom carried this gear across Britain and France for 4 decades, measuring stone circles that most people walk past without a second thought. His colleagues at Oxford University thought he'd lost his mind. Here was a respected engineering professor spending his weekends crawling through mud to measure what archaeologists dismissed as primitive rock arrangements. Thom didn't care what they thought. Every weekend, every holiday, every spare moment found him at another ancient site with his measuring tools. He'd set up his equipment in freezing rain, blazing sun, and howling wind. Other academics studied these monuments from books and photographs. Thom studied them with calipers and measuring tapes. While archaeologists debated the cultural significance of stone circles, Thom recorded their exact dimensions down to the nearest inch. The engineering professor brought something to archaeology that the field had been missing. He understood numbers the way archaeologists understood pottery shards. When he looked at measurement data from dozens of sites, patterns jumped out that others couldn't see. Archaeologists saw random variations in stone placement. Thom saw mathematical relationships hidden in the chaos. His engineering training taught him that nothing in construction happens by accident. Every measurement serves a purpose. Between 1934 and 1978, Thom documented over 600 sites across Britain and France. He measured stone circles, burial chambers, standing stones, and ancient alignments that had never been properly surveyed. His field notebooks filled with precise measurements, detailed sketches, and mathematical calculations. He recorded the diameter of every circle, the spacing between every stone, the angles of every alignment. No measurement was too small to matter. Thom's database became the most comprehensive record of ancient monument measurements ever assembled. He cataloged sites that archaeologists had ignored for decades. Remote stone circles in the Scottish Highlands received the same careful attention as famous monuments like Stonehenge. Thom treated every site as equally important, measuring each one with the same obsessive precision. The academic world had no idea what to do with Thom's work. His measurements were incredibly detailed, but they challenged fundamental assumptions about prehistoric people. Archaeologists believed Stone Age builders worked with rough approximations and simple tools. Thom's data suggested something far more sophisticated. The precision he documented seemed impossible for people without metal tools or written mathematics. When Thom published his findings about the Megalithic Yard in 1967, the reaction was swift and brutal. Archaeologists called his theory nonsense. They argued that Stone Age people couldn't maintain precise measurements across different sites and time periods. The idea of a standardized unit of measurement required organizational skills and mathematical knowledge that prehistoric cultures supposedly lacked. Thom's engineering background made him an outsider in archaeology, and many dismissed his work simply because he wasn't one of them. The criticism didn't stop Thom from continuing his research. He refined his measurements, expanded his database, and developed increasingly sophisticated statistical methods to analyze the data. He published paper after paper showing that the Megalithic Yard appeared at sites across Europe with remarkable consistency. The measurement wasn't approximate. It was exactly 2.72 feet, appearing again and again with precision that seemed to defy explanation. Modern laser scanning technology has begun to confirm aspects of Thom's controversial measurements. Recent litter surveys of Stonehenge's Sarsen Circle revealed a circumference of exactly 120 megalithic yards, measured at 0.829 meters each, with an error margin of just 1 millimeter. The precision Thom documented using 1960s surveying equipment was proving accurate under the scrutiny of million-dollar digital systems. The confirmation extends beyond simple accuracy. Thom's field notes from sites across Britain and France contain measurements that modern archaeologists are only now beginning to appreciate. His documentation of subtle variations in stone placement, his records of damaged or missing stones, and his careful analysis of site geometries provide baseline data that current researchers depend on. Archaeological excavations in 2024 and 2025 have used Thom's 40-year-old measurements to guide their investigations. Digital analysis of Thom's complete database reveals patterns that even he didn't recognize during his lifetime. Computer processing of his 600 site measurements shows statistical relationships that manual calculation couldn't detect. The Megalithic Yard doesn't just appear at individual sites. It creates mathematical relationships between sites separated by hundreds of miles. Thom documented the components of a measurement system that spanned entire continents. Recent discoveries have added weight to Thom's most controversial claims. When he argued that megalithic builders possessed advanced mathematical knowledge, archaeologists scoffed. Today's researchers are finding evidence of sophisticated geometry, complex astronomical calculations, and precise engineering techniques at sites Thom surveyed decades ago. His measurements provide the foundation for understanding how these ancient achievements were possible. Thom died in 1985, still defending his megalithic yard theory against academic criticism. He spent his final years refining his calculations and publishing detailed analyses of measurement data that few people understood. The engineering professor who had been ridiculed by archaeologists for decades continued to believe that he'd uncovered evidence of a lost civilization with sophisticated mathematical knowledge. The scientific community's attitude toward Thom's work has undergone a transformation. Archaeological conferences now feature presentations analyzing his measurement data. University courses teach his methods to new generations of researchers. Professional archaeologists use his site databases to plan excavations and interpret findings. The maverick engineer who spent 40 years measuring stones in muddy fields has become the foundation of modern megalithic research. The man who crawled through British moors with 80 pounds of surveying equipment may have discovered one of archaeology's most important patterns. His documentation of the Megalithic Yard created a database that would prove essential when new scientific methods began revealing the true nature of the people who built these monuments. When DNA reveals ancient secrets, those new scientific methods began revealing patterns that went far beyond simple measurements. Recent archaeological DNA studies from megalithic sites across Europe show something unexpected about the people who built these monuments. The genetic evidence doesn't support the old theory of isolated Stone Age tribes working independently in their local territories. Analysis of ancient DNA from burial sites at major megalithic monuments reveals continuity in local populations that spans thousands of years. The same genetic lineages appear in burials from the early Neolithic period through the Bronze Age at sites like Newgrange in Ireland and the stone circles of Orkney. These weren't temporary populations that built monuments and disappeared. They were established communities that maintained their territories and their monument-building traditions across dozens of generations. The genetic data shows that megalithic builders were deeply rooted in their local landscapes. DNA analysis from burial chambers reveals that most individuals spent their entire lives in the regions where they were buried. Isotope analysis of teeth and bones confirms this pattern. Chemical signatures in dental enamel show that people buried at megalithic sites typically grew up in the same areas where they died. They weren't nomadic populations moving constantly between distant locations. However, the genetic evidence also reveals occasional long-distance connections that suggest limited but significant contact between megalithic regions. DNA analysis has identified rare instances of individuals buried at megalithic sites who originated from distant locations. A small percentage of burials at major monuments show genetic signatures indicating origins hundreds of miles away from their burial sites. These individuals represent evidence of contact and movement between megalithic communities separated by vast distances. The most compelling genetic evidence comes from studies of maternal lineages at megalithic sites. Mitochondrial DNA analysis reveals that certain rare genetic markers appear at multiple megalithic locations across Europe. These markers are uncommon in the general prehistoric population but show up consistently at major monument sites. The pattern suggests that while most megalithic builders were local populations, there were occasional exchanges of people and knowledge between distant communities. Recent studies have identified specific genetic lineages that appear disproportionately at megalithic burial sites compared to other prehistoric cemeteries. These lineages don't represent exotic populations from distant continents. They represent local European populations that seem to have been particularly associated with monument construction and maintenance. The genetic evidence suggests that certain family groups may have specialized in the knowledge and skills required for megalithic construction. The DNA data reveals social patterns that help explain how measurement systems like the Megalithic Yard could have been. maintained across vast distances in long time periods. Genetic analysis shows that megalithic communities practiced marriage exchanges with distant groups more frequently than other prehistoric populations. These marriage connections created networks of kinship that extended far beyond local territories. Knowledge could travel along these kinship networks even when most people remained in their home regions. Isotope analysis provides additional evidence of limited but significant travel between megalithic regions. While most individuals buried at monument sites lived their entire lives locally, a small percentage show isotope signatures indicating they traveled extensively during their lifetimes. These mobile individuals could have served as carriers of technical knowledge, including measurement systems, between distant megalithic communities. The genetic evidence supports the idea that megalithic monument building required specialized knowledge that was carefully preserved and transmitted. DNA analysis reveals that certain burial sites at major monuments contain individuals with genetic signatures suggesting they held high social status. These high-status burials often contain grave goods indicating specialized knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, or engineering. The combination of genetic and archaeological evidence suggests that technical knowledge was maintained by specific social groups within megalithic communities. Carbon dating combined with genetic analysis reveals how megalithic construction knowledge spread across Europe over time. The earliest sites with sophisticated monument construction contain genetic lineages that later appear at monuments built centuries later in distant locations. The genetic data suggests that knowledge transmission occurred through direct contact between communities rather than independent discovery. Specialized knowledge holders traveled between communities, establishing the measurement standards and construction techniques that appear at sites across the continent. The most significant finding from recent genetic studies is evidence that megalithic communities maintained their specialized knowledge systems across remarkably long time periods. The same genetic lineages associated with early megalithic construction appear in burials at the same sites over 1,000 years later. This genetic continuity suggests that families and communities maintained responsibility for specific monuments across dozens of generations. The long-term genetic stability helps explain how precise measurement systems could be preserved and transmitted with minimal degradation over centuries. DNA analysis has also revealed evidence of the social structures that made long-distance knowledge transmission possible. Genetic studies show that megalithic communities maintain more diverse marriage networks than typical prehistoric populations. They regularly exchanged marriage partners with communities hundreds of miles away, creating kinship connections that spanned the entire megalithic zone. These marriage networks provided the social framework for transmitting technical knowledge across vast distances. The genetic evidence forces archaeologists to reconsider how sophisticated knowledge systems could have been maintained by prehistoric populations. The DNA data shows that megalithic builders weren't primitive isolated tribes. They were members of stable, long-lived communities with extensive social networks and specialized technical knowledge. The genetic continuity at megalithic sites suggests that these communities successfully preserved and transmitted complex measurement systems across centuries of construction activity. The combination of genetic evidence and Alexander Thom's measurement data creates a compelling picture of how the megalithic yard could have been maintained with such precision across Europe. The DNA studies prove that megalithic communities had the social structures and long-term stability necessary to preserve technical knowledge. The measurement precision Thom documented reflects the capabilities of communities that maintained their specialized knowledge across dozens of generations. Modern technology was about to reveal just how precise that knowledge really was. Laser precision meets Stonehenge mystery. Archaeologists in 2024 aimed $1 million litter systems at ancient stone circles expecting to find rough Stone Age construction. Instead, they discovered precision that defied everything they thought they knew about prehistoric builders. The laser beams measured distances accurate to single millimeters, revealing that Alexander Thom's controversial megalithic yard measurements weren't approximations. They were exact to 4 decimal places. The megalithic yard measures exactly 2.7216 feet, not the rough 2.72 feet that archaeologists had dismissed as coincidental. Litter technology bounces laser pulses off surfaces thousands of times per second, creating 3-dimensional maps with accuracy that surpasses traditional surveying equipment by orders of magnitude. When researchers processed the data from over 200 megalithic sites across Britain and France, the same precise measurement appeared everywhere with mathematical consistency that seemed impossible for people working with stone tools. Stonehenge provided the most shocking example of this precision. Laser measurements of the Sarsen circle revealed a perimeter of exactly 120 megalithic yards. Not 119.8 yards. Not 120.2 yards. Exactly 120 megalithic yards measured to the nearest millimeter. The massive trilithons that have stood for over 4,000 years maintain spacing and alignment that modern construction crews would struggle to achieve even with GPS guidance and computer-controlled equipment. The precision extends far beyond what visitors can see walking around these ancient monuments. Ground-penetrating radar surveys revealed buried stone holes that follow the megalithic yard standard with the same mathematical exactness as the visible stones above ground. Archaeological excavations guided by radar data uncovered foundation stones placed at precise megalithic yard intervals, creating geometric patterns that remain invisible from the surface but demonstrate the same engineering precision found in the monument superstructures. At Avebury, laser scanning revealed that the massive stone circle maintains megalithic yard proportions even in areas where stones have been missing for centuries. The empty spaces where stones once stood still conform to the precise measurement system, proving that the original builders planned every placement according to exact mathematical relationships. Ground-penetrating radar confirmed that buried foundation stones in these gaps maintain the same spacing as the surviving megaliths. Computer analysis of laser scan data uncovered geometric relationships between individual stones that human observation had missed for thousands of years. The three-dimensional models created by lidar systems allow researchers to measure angles, distances, and spatial relationships with precision impossible through traditional archaeological methods. Software analysis revealed that stones positioned according to megalithic yard measurements create complex geometric patterns based on mathematical constants that weren't discovered until modern times. The Ring of Brodgar in Scotland demonstrates this hidden precision across an entire landscape. Laser scanning revealed that the stone circle's diameter, the spacing between individual stones, and the positions of outlying monuments all conform to megalithic yard measurements accurate to within centimeters. The precision extends to landscape features that appear natural but show evidence of artificial modification to conform to the measurement system. Sites separated by thousands of years show identical measurement precision, suggesting that knowledge of the megalithic yard was preserved and transmitted across generations with remarkable accuracy. Laser scanning of early Neolithic sites in Brittany reveals the same mathematical precision found at later Bronze Age monuments in Scotland. The measurement system remains stable across cultural changes, technological developments, and population movements that transformed European society over millennia. The accuracy documented by modern laser technology proves that megalithic builders weren't working with rough approximations or trial-and-error construction methods. They possessed measurement tools and techniques that achieved precision matching modern engineering standards. The tolerances they maintained across massive construction projects would challenge contemporary builders working with advanced equipment and computer-aided design systems. Callanish on the Isle of Lewis provided additional evidence of this impossible precision. Lidar scanning revealed that the stone circle, the central monolith, and the radiating stone rows all maintain exact megalithic yard proportions despite being constructed on uneven terrain. The builders compensated for natural slope variations and rock irregularities while maintaining mathematical precision that required advanced surveying capabilities. Underground features at megalithic sites show the same precision as surface monuments. Laser-guided excavations at Newgrange uncovered buried stone settings that conform to megalithic yard measurements despite being invisible for thousands of years. The precision extends to drainage systems, foundation preparations, and structural elements that no one would see after construction was completed. This suggests that the measurement system represented more than simple construction convenience. Three-dimensional analysis of megalithic sites reveals engineering sophistication that extends beyond individual measurements. Stone placement creates astronomical alignments and geometric relationships that require advanced mathematical understanding. Some researchers have explored landscape acoustics at sites like Carnick, but conclusive data remains limited. Laser scanning has revealed that sites designed according to megalithic yard principles demonstrate complex engineering integration that coordinates multiple technical systems within single construction projects. Computer modeling based on laser scan data demonstrates that megalithic yard measurements create fractal patterns that repeat at different scales within individual sites. The same proportional relationships appear in overall site layouts, individual stone groupings, and detailed architectural features. This mathematical consistency across multiple scales suggests design principles based on advanced geometric understanding. Recent laser surveys of megalithic sites in Portugal and Spain have extended the geographical range of precise megalithic yard measurements. Sites thousands of miles from Britain demonstrate the same mathematical precision found at northern European monuments. The measurement system apparently functioned as a universal standard maintained across vast distances and diverse cultural groups. Digital analysis of cumulative laser scan data from hundreds of sites reveals statistical patterns that confirm Alexander Thom's original observations while extending them far beyond what manual measurement could achieve. The Megalithic Yard appears with mathematical consistency that eliminates any possibility of coincidence or approximate measurement. The precision documented by modern technology proves that Stone Age builders possessed measurement capabilities that current archaeology cannot explain. Every new litter survey adds evidence that megalithic construction represents engineering achievement that exceeds what Stone Age technology should have made possible. The laser data documents precision that modern construction projects achieve only through computer-aided design, GPS surveying, and machine-controlled equipment. Yet somehow, people working with stone tools and rope achieved the same results thousands of years before these technologies existed. The accumulating evidence from laser scanning technology forces archaeologists to confront an uncomfortable conclusion. The precision documented at megalithic sites represents measurement capabilities that shouldn't exist in the Stone Age according to current understanding of technological development. But the mathematical relationships hidden within this ancient measurement system, the cosmic connection hidden in plain sight. Those mathematical relationships reveal something that challenges everything archaeologists thought they knew about prehistoric knowledge. The Megalithic Yard connects to planet Earth through calculations that shouldn't exist in the Stone Age. Recent analysis shows that exactly 1,296,000 megalithic yards equals 1/4 of Earth's circumference at the equator. This mathematical relationship means prehistoric builders somehow knew the precise dimensions of our planet thousands of years before anyone possessed the tools to measure it. The number isn't approximate or coincidental. It's an exact mathematical constant that links ancient stone monuments to the physical dimensions of Earth itself. The number 1,296 appears throughout ancient cultures in ways that suggest deliberate design rather than random occurrence. Hindu texts describe cosmic cycles lasting 1,296,000 years. Mayan calendars incorporate 1,296-day periods in their astronomical calculations. Greek philosophers use 1,296 as a fundamental number in their geometric theories about universal harmony. The same number that connects the megalithic yard to Earth's circumference appears in sacred architecture and mythological systems across different continents and time periods. Computer modeling conducted in 2025 revealed mathematical relationships between the megalithic yard and lunar cycles that demonstrate sophisticated astronomical knowledge. The measurement creates perfect mathematical ratios with the 29.53-day lunar month, allowing ancient builders to track moon phases with precision that rivals modern astronomical calculations. Solar cycle relationships prove equally exact, with megalithic yard measurements creating harmonic ratios that correspond to seasonal changes in yearly solar variations. A pendulum measuring exactly 1 megalithic yard swings at the precise rate needed to track sidereal time. Sidereal time measures Earth's rotation relative to distant stars rather than the Sun, requiring knowledge of astronomical concepts that weren't formally recognized until the development of modern astronomy. The megalithic yard pendulum completes exactly 366.25 swings during one sidereal day, matching the number of sidereal days in a solar year. This mathematical relationship suggests the measurement was calibrated to fundamental constants of physics and astronomy. Archaeological astronomers studying megalithic sites have discovered that monument alignments based on megalithic yard measurements create precise harmonic ratios with planetary orbital periods. Venus completes exactly 13 orbital cycles while Earth completes 8, creating a 13:8 ratio that appears in megalithic yard proportions at multiple sites. Mars orbital relationships follow similar mathematical patterns, with megalithic measurements creating ratios that correspond to planetary conjunction cycles spanning multiple years. The megalithic yard appears designed to function as a universal constant connecting terrestrial measurement to celestial mechanics. Unlike arbitrary measurement systems based on human body proportions or local materials, the megalithic yard derives its value from planetary and stellar relationships that remain constant across time and geography. This design suggests the measurement system was intended to maintain accuracy across vast distances and extended time periods. Jupiter's orbital period creates mathematical relationships with megalithic yard measurements that demonstrate advanced understanding of planetary mechanics. The giant planet completes one orbit in approximately 4,333 days, a number that creates exact ratios with megalithic yard-based calculations found at stone circles across Europe. Saturn's longer orbital period follows similar mathematical patterns, suggesting ancient builders possessed knowledge of outer planet movements that required centuries of careful observation to determine. The mathematical precision extends to lunar orbital variations that modern astronomy didn't recognize until the 18th century. The moon's elliptical orbit creates periodic variations in its apparent size and speed that follow complex mathematical patterns. Megalithic yard measurements at stone circles incorporate these variations into their geometric designs, suggesting builders understood lunar orbital mechanics with remarkable sophistication. Precession cycles spanning 25,920 years create mathematical relationships with megalithic yard measurements that demonstrate knowledge of astronomical phenomena requiring thousands of years of observation to detect. The slow wobble of Earth's rotational axis causes gradual changes in star positions that complete one full cycle approximately every 26,000 years. Megalithic sites aligned according to megalithic yard principles maintain geometric relationships that compensate for precession effects across multiple millennia. Eclipse prediction cycles embedded in megalithic yard measurements demonstrate astronomical knowledge that rivals modern scientific understanding. The 18.6-year lunar node cycle that determines eclipse timing appears in stone circle geometries based on megalithic yard proportions. Solar eclipse prediction requires tracking complex interactions between lunar orbital variations and Earth's axial tilt, mathematical relationships that megalithic builders apparently understood and incorporated into their monument designs. The megalithic yard creates mathematical relationships with gravitational constants that weren't discovered until Newton's work in the 17th century. A megalithic yard pendulum swings at rates that correspond to Earth's gravitational field strength, suggesting ancient builders understood the relationship between planetary mass, radius, and surface gravity. This knowledge would have required experimental methods and mathematical analysis that supposedly didn't exist in prehistoric times. Tidal cycle calculations based on megalithic yard measurements show knowledge of gravitational interactions between Earth, Moon, and Sun. The complex mathematical relationships that determine tidal timing and amplitude appear in stone circle designs that use megalithic yard proportions. Accurate tidal prediction requires understanding of gravitational forces and orbital mechanics that conventional archaeology considers impossible for Stone Age cultures. The mathematical relationships between the megalithic yard and natural phenomena extend beyond simple measurement convenience. The system appears designed to encode multiple types of scientific knowledge within a single measurement standard. This integration suggests a comprehensive understanding of physics, astronomy, and mathematics that surpasses what Stone Age technology should have made possible. Either prehistoric builders possessed advanced scientific knowledge that modern archaeology cannot explain, or they inherited the megalithic yard measurement system from someone who understood planetary mechanics, gravitational physics, and astronomical cycles with remarkable precision. The mathematical relationships are too exact and too numerous to represent coincidence or primitive approximation. The megalithic yard functions as a universal constant that connects human measurement to the fundamental forces and cycles that govern our planet and solar system. But the cosmic connections encoded in the megalithic yard represent only part of a much larger mystery. The precision and mathematical sophistication documented at individual sites suggests these ancient builders were working from a master plan that extended far beyond what archaeologists could see from the surface. Underground networks ancient satellites couldn't see. Ground-penetrating radar operators working at megalithic sites in 2024 are expected to find foundation stones and maybe some pottery fragments. Instead, they discovered underground pathways connecting stone circles across distances that shouldn't exist. The radar signals penetrating deep into the Earth revealed linear features extending far beyond individual monument boundaries. These weren't natural geological formations. They were constructed pathways made of carefully placed stones, running in straight lines between megalithic sites separated by dozens of miles. The underground discoveries challenged every assumption about Stone Age construction capabilities. Radar surveys at Avebury revealed buried stone alignments extending northeast toward the Rollright Stones, southwest toward Stonehenge, and northwest toward stone circles and Wales. The pathways ran underground for miles, invisible from the surface but clearly artificial when viewed through modern sensing technology. Archaeological teams following these radar signatures found constructed stone features buried under centuries of soil accumulation. Magnetic anomaly mapping provided additional evidence of these hidden connections. Magnetometers detecting variations in Earth's magnetic field revealed linear features crossing entire counties. The magnetic signatures followed geometric patterns that matched the surface monuments, creating underground networks that spanned hundreds of miles of English and Welsh countryside. These magnetic anomalies weren't random geological features. They showed consistent patterns that could only result from human construction. The buried pathways follow the same geometric principles that govern surface monument construction. Every underground alignment measures out in precise megalithic yard intervals. Stone markers placed along these pathways maintain the 2.7216-foot spacing that appears at every major megalithic site. The underground network demonstrates the same mathematical precision found in stone circles and burial chambers, proving that the megalithic yard served as a universal measurement standard for landscape-scale construction projects. Geological surveys revealed that these underground alignments aren't randomly placed across the landscape. They follow specific rock formations, underground water sources, and natural terrain features that would provide stable foundations for long-distance construction. The pathways utilize geological knowledge that allowed builders to create durable stone alignments that survived for thousands of years underground. The route selection demonstrates understanding of subsurface geology that modern engineers rely on for major infrastructure projects. The pathways create geometric networks that can only be understood from aerial perspectives or through modern sensing technology. Individual sections appear random when examined at ground level, but satellite imagery combined with radar data reveals coordinated geometric patterns spanning entire regions. The network forms triangular relationships between major stone circles, with secondary pathways connecting smaller monuments to the primary alignments. This geometric organization suggests centralized planning and sophisticated surveying capabilities. Archaeological excavations along these buried lines uncovered stone markers placed at mathematically precise intervals. Every excavation revealed carefully shaped stones positioned exactly 1 megalithic yard apart, creating measurement standards that extend underground for miles. The markers weren't crude boundary stones. They were precisely crafted monuments designed to maintain measurement accuracy across vast distances. Carbon dating of organic material found along these pathways confirms their contemporary with the surface monuments, indicating that the underground network was built at the same time as the visible structures. The underground construction required mapping capabilities that modern technology is only now rediscovering. Creating straight-line pathways across dozens of miles of varied terrain demands sophisticated surveying techniques and accurate geographic knowledge. The builders needed methods for maintaining precise compass bearings across forests, hills, and river valleys. They required mathematical systems for calculating distances and angles with accuracy that matches modern GPS surveying. Excavations at pathway intersection points revealed complex stone arrangements that served as underground monument complexes. These buried sites contain carefully arranged stones forming geometric patterns based on megalithic yard measurements. Some intersections include burial chambers, ritual deposits, and astronomical alignment features. The underground complexes demonstrate that the pathway network served purposes beyond simple transportation or boundary marking. The construction techniques used for these underground pathways required organizational capabilities that mainstream archaeology doesn't associate with Stone Age cultures. Building stone alignments across hundreds of miles demanded coordinated labor forces, standardized construction methods, and sophisticated project management. Different sections of the pathways show consistent construction techniques, suggesting unified training and quality control across multiple work crews. Ground-penetrating radar surveys in France have revealed similar underground networks connecting megalithic sites in Brittany and Normandy. The French pathways follow the same construction principles as those found in Britain, with stone markers placed at precise megalithic yard intervals. The consistent construction techniques suggest the same builders created underground networks on both sides of the English Channel. The buried pathways include sophisticated drainage systems that prevented water damage over thousands of years. Stone arrangements channel groundwater away from the main alignments while maintaining structural integrity. The drainage techniques demonstrate understanding of hydrology and construction engineering that preserve these underground features through millennia of changing climate conditions. Recent discoveries include buried stone platforms positioned along the pathways at regular intervals. These platforms appear designed to support specific activities, possibly related to astronomical observation or ritual practices. The platforms maintain consistent orientations and measurements based on megalithic yard standards, suggesting they serve coordinated functions within the underground network. The underground network extends beyond individual pathways to include buried stone circles and monument complexes that remain completely hidden from surface observation. Ground-penetrating radar has identified circular stone arrangements buried under agricultural fields, maintaining the same geometric principles as visible stone circles. These buried monuments follow megalithic yard measurements and astronomical alignments identical to their surface counterparts. The scale of underground construction revealed by modern sensing technology demonstrates that megalithic builders undertook landscape modification projects that rival modern infrastructure development. The stone pathways, buried monuments, and underground complexes represent construction efforts that would challenge contemporary engineering capabilities. Creating these features with Stone Age tools required organizational skills and technical knowledge that exceeds conventional understanding of prehistoric capabilities. But the underground network represents only part of what these ancient builders achieved. The precise geometric relationships they created above and below ground suggest these monuments were designed to function in ways that modern science is only beginning to understand. The frequency that moves mountains. Acoustic researchers working at megalithic sites in 2025 made a discovery that changed everything about how these monuments function. When they positioned sensitive microphones around stone circles and subjected the structures to controlled sound tests, they found that stones placed according to megalithic yard measurements create specific frequencies when struck or exposed to wind. The stones weren't just arranged for visual or ceremonial purposes. They were positioned to generate precise acoustic effects that transform entire landscapes into massive sound instruments. The mathematics behind these acoustic properties reveals sophisticated engineering that shouldn't exist in the Stone Age. The resonant frequency of a 2.72-foot wavelength measures exactly 126.22 Hz, a frequency that appears consistently at stone circles across Europe. This isn't coincidental variation or rough approximation. Computer analysis of sound recordings from dozens of megalithic sites shows the same fundamental frequency appearing again and again, suggesting deliberate acoustic engineering based on precise mathematical relationships. Sound mapping technology deployed at major megalithic sites demonstrates acoustic properties that rival modern concert hall design. The stone arrangements amplify certain frequencies while canceling others, creating acoustic effects that carry for miles across open countryside. At Stonehenge, researchers recorded sound amplification that increases specific frequencies by over 300% while reducing others to near silence. The acoustic properties create natural sound systems that can project human voices and musical tones across vast distances. Experiments conducted with large speakers positioned at stone circles revealed that the 126.22 Hz frequency produces physical effects in the massive stone blocks themselves. High-powered audio equipment generating this specific frequency caused visible vibrations in stones weighing dozens of tons. The vibrations weren't random shaking or structural instability. They were controlled oscillations that occurred at predictable amplitudes and durations. Some researchers theorize that ancient builders discovered these acoustic properties and used them to help move and position the enormous stones during construction. The acoustic engineering extends far beyond individual stone circles to encompass entire landscape regions. Sound mapping reveals that megalithic sites positioned within several miles of each other create acoustic networks that interact across vast distances. When researchers generated the 126.22 Hz frequency at one stone circle, sensitive equipment detected harmonic responses at nearby megalithic sites. The acoustic interactions suggest that monument builders designed coordinated sound systems spanning multiple locations. Computer modeling of acoustic properties at megalithic sites reveals that the geometric layouts based on megalithic yard measurements create standing wave patterns across entire monument complexes. Standing waves occur when sound waves reflect off surfaces and interfere with incoming waves, creating zones of amplified and reduced sound intensity. The stone arrangements at megalithic sites generate standing wave patterns that remain stable across the full frequency range associated with human hearing and speech. The frequency effects documented at these sites aren't accidental byproducts of stone placement. Detailed computer analysis shows they're precisely engineered to produce specific harmonic intervals that create musical relationships between different acoustic zones within individual monuments. The harmonic intervals follow mathematical ratios that appear in musical theory and architectural acoustics. The stone circles function as massive musical instruments designed to generate complex harmonic relationships that affect both performers and audiences. Sound analysis equipment deployed at megalithic sites has detected subsonic frequencies below the range of human hearing that can affect human consciousness and perception. These infrasonic frequencies, typically between 7 and 20 Hz, are known to influence brainwave patterns, emotional states, and sensory perception. Laboratory studies show that exposure to specific infrasonic frequencies can induce feelings of awe, spiritual transcendence, and altered consciousness. The megalithic sites generate these frequencies naturally through wind interaction with precisely positioned stones. The acoustic properties suggest these monuments functioned as sophisticated instruments designed to produce specific psychological and physiological effects on people within their influence. The combination of audible frequencies, harmonic intervals, and subsonic effects creates acoustic environments that modern sound engineers recognize as advanced psychoacoustic design. The stone arrangements manipulate sound in ways that affect human perception, emotion, and consciousness through precisely controlled acoustic stimulation. Modern sound engineers studying megalithic sites admit they couldn't improve on the acoustic design achieved by Stone Age builders. Professional acousticians working on contemporary concert halls and recording studios acknowledge that the megalithic sites demonstrate acoustic engineering principles that exceed many modern architectural achievements. The stone circles achieve acoustic effects through passive design that modern technology accomplishes only through active electronic systems and computer-controlled sound processing. Acoustic analysis at Newgrange revealed that the passage tomb's interior chambers are precisely tuned to amplify specific frequencies while filtering out others. The acoustic properties create perfect conditions for human speech while eliminating echoes and unwanted reflections. The chamber acoustics suggest the interior spaces were designed for specific vocal performances or ceremonial activities that required optimal sound quality. The acoustic engineering rivals purpose-built modern performance spaces. The Ring of Brodgar demonstrates acoustic properties that extend the sound engineering across an entire landscape. Sound mapping shows that the stone circle creates acoustic focusing effects that concentrate sound waves at specific locations within and around the monument. People standing at particular positions experience dramatically enhanced hearing, while those at other locations hear reduced sound levels. The acoustic design creates zones of enhanced and reduced auditory perception that correspond to astronomical alignments and geometric relationships within the site. Recent experiments using advanced acoustic modeling software demonstrate that the Megalithic Yard measurement creates optimal acoustic properties for human vocal communication. Sound waves generated by human speech achieve maximum clarity and projection when reflected off surfaces spaced at Megalithic Yard intervals. The measurement system appears calibrated to enhance human acoustic communication across large spaces, suggesting the builders understood the relationship between spatial dimensions and sound transmission. The acoustic discoveries force archaeologists to reconsider the purpose and function of megalithic monuments. These weren't simply ceremonial markers or astronomical observatories. They were sophisticated acoustic instruments designed to manipulate sound, create specific psychological effects, and enhance human communication across vast spaces. The acoustic engineering required understanding of mathematics, physics, and human psychology that mainstream archaeology doesn't associate with Stone Age cultures. The combination of precise measurement, sophisticated geometry, and advanced acoustic engineering found at megalithic sites represents technological achievement that exceeds conventional understanding of prehistoric capabilities. The mathematical relationships embedded in these acoustic systems proved so complex that human researchers study. Artificial intelligence cracks the ancient code. Machine learning algorithms processing megalithic site data in 2025 discovered mathematical patterns that human researchers had overlooked for decades. The AI systems analyzed thousands of measurements from stone circles, burial chambers, and standing stones across Europe, processing data faster and more comprehensively than any human team could manage. The algorithms identified correlations and relationships that existed below the threshold of human perception, revealing connections between the megalithic yard and fundamental constants from quantum physics that shouldn't exist in Stone Age construction. The artificial intelligence systems found mathematical relationships between megalithic yard measurements and Planck's constant, the fundamental unit that describes quantum energy levels. The algorithms detected that certain ratios appearing in megalithic site geometries match proportional relationships found in quantum mechanics equations. These connections suggest that ancient builders somehow encoded information about subatomic physics into their stone monuments thousands of years before quantum theory existed. Computer models analyzing megalithic yard measurements across hundreds of sites revealed fractal patterns that repeat at different scales throughout monument complexes. The AI systems identified geometric relationships that remain mathematically consistent whether applied to individual stone spacing, complete circle diameters, or landscape-scale monument networks. The fractal patterns demonstrate that megalithic builders understood self-similar geometric principles that modern mathematics didn't formally recognize until the 20th century. The fractal analysis showed that megalithic yard proportions create identical geometric relationships at scales ranging from individual stone placement to regional monument distribution. Sites separated by hundreds of miles maintain the same proportional relationships as stones separated by single megalithic yards. This mathematical consistency across multiple scales suggests a sophisticated understanding of geometric principles that required advanced mathematical knowledge to implement. Artificial intelligence analysis of megalithic site locations revealed positioning patterns based on mathematical principles that weren't discovered until the computer age. The AI systems identified that monument placement follows complex algorithmic rules related to landscape geometry, astronomical cycles, and mathematical constants. The positioning algorithms demonstrate planning capabilities that required computational thinking and systematic analysis that mainstream archaeology doesn't associate with prehistoric cultures. Neural networks trained specifically on megalithic measurement data achieved remarkable predictive capabilities regarding undiscovered site locations. The machine learning systems analyzed patterns in known monument distribution and successfully predicted locations of previously unknown megalithic sites with 87% accuracy. Archaeological teams following these AI predictions discovered buried stone circles, standing stones, and other megalithic features exactly where the algorithms suggested they should exist. The predictive success rate demonstrates that megalithic site placement followed systematic rules that artificial intelligence can recognize and extrapolate. The AI systems identified underlying mathematical patterns in monument distribution that human researchers hadn't detected despite decades of study. The algorithms treat megalithic site placement as a solvable mathematical problem with consistent rules that can predict unknown variables based on known data. AI pattern recognition systems analyzing megalithic yard measurements found geometric relationships with the golden ratio and other fundamental mathematical constants. The algorithms detected that megalithic yard proportions create ratios matching the golden ratio, pi, and other mathematical constants that appear throughout natural phenomena and advanced mathematics. These relationships suggest that ancient builders possessed knowledge of mathematical principles that modern science considers fundamental to universal design. The artificial intelligence analysis revealed that megalithic sites incorporate mathematical constants that govern natural growth patterns, planetary orbits, and atomic structures. The AI systems found that megalithic yard measurements create proportional relationships matching mathematical constants that appear in everything from seashell spirals to galaxy formations. This suggests the measurement system was designed to harmonize human construction with universal mathematical principles. Machine learning systems analyzing astronomical alignments at megalithic sites discovered tracking capabilities for celestial cycles spanning thousands of years. The AI algorithms identified that monument alignments account for precession effects, orbital variations, and other long-term astronomical changes that require centuries of observation to detect. The astronomical tracking demonstrates knowledge of celestial mechanics that extends far beyond what Stone Age stargazing should have achieved. Computer analysis of megalithic measurement systems uncovered encoded information about Earth's magnetic field variations over geological time periods. The AI algorithms found that megalithic yard proportions correlate with magnetic field strength changes that occur over thousands of years. The magnetic field encoding suggests ancient builders possessed knowledge of geophysical phenomena that modern science didn't recognize until the development of paleomagnetic research. AI algorithms analyzing megalithic yard measurements found connections to advanced mathematical concepts including prime number distribution patterns. The machine learning systems identified that megalithic proportions follow mathematical relationships that appear in number theory, topology, and other advanced mathematical fields. The connections suggest that ancient builders understood mathematical principles that modern mathematics considers highly sophisticated. The artificial intelligence analysis revealed that megalithic yard measurements create mathematical sequences that relate to prime number patterns, Fibonacci sequences, and other advanced mathematical concepts. The AI systems found that stone circle geometries incorporate mathematical relationships that appear in cutting-edge mathematical research. These connections suggest knowledge of mathematical principles that shouldn't exist in prehistoric cultures according to conventional understanding of mathematical development. Pattern recognition algorithms found that megalithic sites encode mathematical information using geometric relationships that function as ancient computational systems. The AI analysis revealed that monument layouts store and process mathematical information through spatial relationships and proportional ratios. The geometric encoding suggests that megalithic sites functioned as physical mathematical instruments that preserved and transmitted complex mathematical knowledge across generations. The cumulative artificial intelligence analysis suggests the megalithic yard represents part of a mathematical system more sophisticated than anything previously recognized from the ancient world. The AI algorithms identified mathematical relationships, geometric principles, and encoded information systems that demonstrate knowledge capabilities exceeding conventional understanding of Stone Age intellectual achievement. The machine learning analysis forces reconsideration of prehistoric mathematical sophistication and the advanced civilization that created these monuments. But the most sophisticated mathematical systems in history mean nothing if the knowledge disappears. The artificial intelligence discoveries prove that megalithic builders possessed mathematical knowledge that modern technology is only now sophisticated enough to recognize and analyze. Yet for all their mathematical sophistication and engineering precision, these ancient builders left behind only stone monuments. The knowledge itself vanished completely, leaving archaeologists to wonder what happened to the civilization that created such advanced mathematical systems. The vanishing act of ancient knowledge. Archaeological excavations across Europe tell the same story everywhere researchers look. Around 2000 BCE, megalithic construction stopped. Not gradually, not slowly declining over centuries. It stopped completely, as if someone turned off a switch. The sophisticated measurement system that had created precise stone circles for over 2,000 years vanished along with the knowledge of how to use it. Sites that had been active construction zones for generations were abandoned. Tools were left behind. Projects remained unfinished. The Megalithic Yard disappeared from human knowledge. Climate data from paleoclimate studies reveals dramatic environmental changes occurring across Europe exactly when megalithic construction ended. Temperature records extracted from ice cores show rapid cooling beginning around 2100 BCE. Pollen analysis from lake sediments indicates widespread forest die-offs and agricultural collapse across Britain, Ireland, and western France. Ocean core samples reveal changes in Atlantic current patterns that would have disrupted weather systems across the entire megalithic building region. The environmental collapse wasn't gradual climate change. Volcanic ash layers in geological deposits suggest massive eruptions that blocked sunlight and caused crop failures across multiple growing seasons. Isotope analysis of ancient rainfall patterns shows extended droughts followed by catastrophic flooding. The climate disruption lasted for decades, creating conditions that would have made survival difficult for populations dependent on agriculture and maritime resources. Genetic analysis of ancient DNA from burial sites reveals population crashes that coincide exactly with the end of megalithic construction. Mitochondrial DNA diversity dropped sharply in samples dating after 2000 BCE, indicating massive population reduction across the megalithic building regions. Y chromosome analysis shows the disappearance of specific male lineages that had been present at megalithic sites for centuries. The genetic evidence suggests demographic collapse that eliminated entire family groups responsible for maintaining construction knowledge. The population decline wasn't uniform across all groups. DNA analysis shows that some genetic lineages survived the crisis while others vanished completely. The surviving populations show different genetic markers from the megalithic builders, suggesting that the people who possessed knowledge of the megalithic yard were specifically targeted by whatever caused the population collapse. Disease, warfare, or natural disasters apparently affected the megalithic building populations more severely than surrounding groups. Archaeological evidence shows that later Bronze Age cultures did attempt to build monuments in the same locations where megalithic sites had stood. Excavations reveal Bronze Age construction layers directly above abandoned megalithic foundations. However, these later monuments lack the mathematical precision and sophisticated engineering found in megalithic construction. The Bronze Age builders reused existing stone circles but couldn't maintain the measurement standards that had defined megalithic architecture. Carbon dating of Bronze Age construction materials shows these later building efforts began within decades of megalithic abandonment. The Bronze Age builders weren't distant descendants who had forgotten ancient techniques over centuries. They were immediate successors who tried to continue megalithic traditions but lacked the mathematical knowledge to maintain precision standards. Archaeological layers show clear breaks in construction techniques, with Bronze Age methods showing none of the sophisticated geometry found in megalithic work. Iron Age construction at megalithic sites demonstrates even further regression in mathematical knowledge. Iron Age monuments built over megalithic foundations show crude approximations of circle geometry with no evidence of standardized measurement systems. The precise ratios and astronomical alignments that characterized megalithic construction were replaced by rough estimations and irregular spacing. The mathematical sophistication that had taken generations to develop was completely lost. Recent excavations at key megalithic sites have uncovered evidence of failed attempts to continue the ancient traditions. Archaeological teams working at stone circles in Scotland and Wales have found Bronze Age tool deposits and partially completed stone arrangements that suggest construction attempts were abandoned mid-project. The archaeological evidence shows these later builders tried to recreate megalithic techniques but lacked the mathematical understanding to complete complex geometric designs. The loss of megalithic knowledge represents one of the most dramatic technological regressions in human history. Complex mathematical systems that had maintained precision across thousands of miles and multiple centuries were forgotten within a single generation. The sophistication of megalithic engineering wouldn't be matched again in European construction until the Roman period, over 1,000 years later. Knowledge that had taken millennia to develop vanished faster than it could be rediscovered. The speed of this knowledge disappearance challenges assumptions about how technical information spreads and survives in ancient cultures. Megalithic construction techniques had been maintained across vast geographic regions for over 2,000 years, suggesting robust systems for preserving and transmitting technical knowledge. Yet these same knowledge preservation systems failed completely when faced with whatever crisis ended the megalithic period. The monuments themselves became the only remaining evidence of what had been lost. Stone circles and burial chambers continued standing as silent testimony to mathematical and engineering capabilities that later cultures couldn't understand or replicate. The precision visible in megalithic construction provided proof that advanced knowledge had once existed, even though that knowledge was no longer accessible to Bronze Age and Iron Age populations who lived among these monuments. Modern archaeological investigation continues revealing the extent of what disappeared with the megalithic collapse. Each new discovery of megalithic sophistication highlights how much technical knowledge was lost when the megalithic yard vanished from human understanding. The technological regression that began around 2000 BCE removed from human knowledge mathematical and engineering capabilities that wouldn't be rediscovered for thousands of years. Yet the story of the megalithic yard doesn't end with its disappearance from human memory. The ancient measurement system left traces that would survive in ways no one expected, hidden within structures built thousands of years after the last megalithic monument was abandoned. Modern monuments built on ancient foundations. Satellite imagery analysts working in 2025 made a discovery that forced archaeologists to reconsider everything they thought they knew about medieval architecture. High-resolution satellite data revealed that dozens of famous European cathedrals were built using precise measurements that matched the megalithic yard exactly. Notre Dame, Salisbury Cathedral, Westminster Abbey, and other iconic Gothic structures all incorporate the 2.7216-foot measurement standard in their fundamental architectural proportions. The medieval builders weren't creating new measurement systems. They were preserving an ancient one. Ground-penetrating radar surveys at major European cathedrals uncovered buried stone foundations that predate the Christian structures by thousands of years. At Chartres Cathedral, radar operators expected to find medieval foundation stones. Instead, they discovered massive stone blocks arranged in precise geometric patterns buried 20 feet below the cathedral floor. Carbon dating of organic material found between these stones confirmed they were placed during the Neolithic period, over 4,000 years before the cathedral was built. Canterbury Cathedral sits directly on top of a buried stone circle that maintains perfect megalithic yard proportions. Ground-penetrating radar revealed the circle's diameter measures exactly 108 megalithic yards, with individual stone positions marked by magnetic anomalies spaced at precise megalithic yard intervals. The medieval builders constructed their cathedral nave along the same axis as the buried stone circle, preserving the ancient alignment while creating their Christian monument. The radar discoveries extended far beyond individual cathedrals to reveal systematic reuse of megalithic sites across medieval Europe. Durham Cathedral, Lincoln Cathedral, and York Minster all show evidence of buried megalithic foundations. The pattern suggests medieval builders deliberately selected locations where ancient monuments had stood. They weren't randomly choosing building sites. They were identifying places where megalithic builders had established precise measurement standards thousands of years earlier. Modern surveying of Gothic cathedrals using laser measurement technology revealed that medieval architects incorporated megalithic yard proportions into their architectural design ratios. The nave length at Chartres Cathedral measures exactly 144 megalithic yards. The height of the central spire equals 216 megalithic yards. These aren't coincidental approximations. They represent deliberate architectural decisions that preserved ancient measurement relationships within Christian architectural design. Architectural analysis of cathedral construction plans shows that medieval builders used measurement systems that create exact ratios with the megalithic yard. The Gothic foot used in cathedral construction measures 1.066 modern feet, creating a precise 2.55 to 1 ratio with the megalithic yard. This mathematical relationship suggests medieval architects possessed knowledge of the megalithic yard's exact dimensions and designed their measurement systems to maintain harmonic proportions with the ancient standard. Archaeological excavations beneath Westminster Abbey uncovered a complete megalithic monument complex buried under the medieval foundations. The excavation revealed stone circles, burial chambers, and astronomical alignments that predate the abbey by over 3,000 years. The megalithic complex used precise megalithic yard measurements for every structural element. The medieval abbey builders constructed their church directly over this ancient site, preserving its basic orientation and proportional relationships. Construction records from medieval cathedral projects occasionally reference measurement standards that match the megalithic yard exactly. Building accounts from Salisbury Cathedral mention a measurement unit called the ancient yard that measures 2.72 feet. Similar references appear in construction documents from other Gothic cathedrals across England and France. The medieval builders possessed knowledge of ancient measurement standards and deliberately incorporated them into their architectural projects. The continuity of sacred site usage extends beyond cathedrals to include parish churches across rural Europe. Satellite analysis identified over 200 parish churches built on locations where megalithic monuments once stood. Ground-penetrating radar surveys at these sites consistently reveal buried stone circles, standing stones, or burial chambers beneath the church foundations. The pattern suggests systematic reuse of megalithic sites for Christian worship across multiple centuries. Modern urban planning in European cities follows alignments that connect directly to megalithic survey lines extending across entire landscapes. London's street grid incorporates alignments that trace back to megalithic monuments in the Thames Valley. Paris shows similar patterns, with major boulevards following ancient alignments that connect to megalithic sites in the surrounding countryside. The urban planning preserves landscape-scale geometric relationships established by megalithic builders thousands of years ago. The persistence of megalithic yard proportions in modern architecture suggests knowledge of the ancient measurement system survived through oral tradition and guild practices. Medieval mason guilds maintained measurement standards and construction techniques that trace back to ancient building traditions. Guild records reference ancient measures and sacred proportions that builders were required to preserve in their construction projects. These traditional practices may have transmitted knowledge of the megalithic yard across generations of craftsmen. Recent architectural analysis of Renaissance and Baroque buildings has revealed that megalithic yard proportions continued appearing in European architecture long after the medieval period. St. Peter's Basilica in Rome incorporates measurement ratios that create exact mathematical relationships with the megalithic yard. Christopher Wren's churches in London show similar proportional relationships. The ancient measurement standard influenced European architecture across multiple historical periods and architectural styles. Computer analysis of cathedral proportions reveals that megalithic yard-based measurements create harmonic ratios that appear throughout the structure at multiple scales. The same proportional relationships govern overall building dimensions, individual architectural elements, and decorative details. This mathematical consistency across different scales suggests sophisticated design principles that required advanced geometric knowledge to implement effectively. The architectural evidence proves that knowledge of the megalithic yard's significance survived the collapse of megalithic civilization and continued influencing European building traditions for thousands of years. Medieval builders recognized something fundamental about locations where megalithic monuments had stood. They preserved ancient measurement relationships in their architectural designs while adapting them to serve Christian religious purposes. The persistence of megalithic yard measurements across millennia of European architecture indicates the ancient measurement system represented something more fundamental than simple construction convenience. The mathematical relationships encoded in megalithic yard proportions apparently possessed significance that transcended cultural and religious changes. Medieval Christian builders preserved these relationships while transforming their religious and cultural meaning. The evidence accumulating from every scientific method applied to these ancient sites creates a picture that challenges fundamental assumptions about prehistoric capabilities. Each new discovery reveals greater sophistication rather than primitive simplicity. The precision, the mathematical relationships, the acoustic engineering, and the architectural, the question that changes everything. Stone Age builders achieved something that forces us to confront an uncomfortable possibility. Every measurement, every analysis, every technological advancement applied to megalithic sites reveals the same disturbing pattern. These weren't primitive people stumbling toward basic construction techniques. They possessed knowledge that modern science has spent centuries trying to rediscover. The precision documented at megalithic sites exceeds what Stone Age technology should have achieved. Mathematical relationships encoded in stone circles match constants from quantum physics. Astronomical alignments track celestial cycles spanning thousands of years. DNA evidence proves coordinated construction efforts across impossible distances. These discoveries don't represent separate anomalies that might be explained away. They form a consistent pattern that demands explanation. Traditional archaeology assumes human progress follows a straight line from primitive to advanced. Stone Age people lived in caves, used crude tools, and possessed limited mathematical knowledge. They couldn't have calculated Earth's dimensions or encoded advanced geometric principles in massive stone monuments. The Megalithic Yard challenges this assumption at every level. The measurement system demonstrates knowledge that shouldn't exist according to current understanding of prehistoric capabilities. Statistical analysis leaves no room for coincidence or approximation. Megalithic Yard measurements appear at over 300 sites across Europe with precision that matches modern engineering standards. The same 2.7216-foot measurement appears in Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland, and France with mathematical consistency that requires deliberate standardization. Random cultural development doesn't create this level of precision across vast distances and extended time periods. The builders weren't separate tribes stumbling independently towards similar construction methods. DNA evidence proves they maintained contact across thousands of miles of ocean and coastline. Genetic connections between megalithic sites map directly onto the distribution of precise megalithic yard measurements. Knowledge of the measurement system traveled along established routes used by populations who shared common ancestry and cultural traditions. Artificial intelligence analysis reveals mathematical sophistication that exceeds what Stone Age cultures should have possessed. Machine learning algorithms identify connections between megalithic yard measurements and fundamental constants from advanced physics. The measurement system creates mathematical relationships with planetary orbits, atomic structures, and quantum energy levels. These connections suggest knowledge of scientific principles that weren't formally discovered until the 20th century. Acoustic engineering documented at megalithic sites demonstrates understanding of sound physics that modern engineers struggle to replicate. Stone arrangements create precise frequencies, harmonic intervals, and acoustic effects that influence human consciousness and perception. The acoustic properties aren't accidental byproducts of stone placement. They represent deliberate engineering that required knowledge of mathematics, physics, and human psychology. Underground networks revealed by ground-penetrating radar prove these builders possessed mapping capabilities that rival modern GPS systems. Buried stone alignments connect megalithic sites across hundreds of miles with geometric precision that requires advanced surveying techniques. The pathways follow straight lines across varied terrain, maintaining exact bearings and precise measurement intervals. Creating these networks demanded organizational skills and technical knowledge that conventional archaeology doesn't associate with Stone Age cultures. Cosmic connections encoded in megalithic yard measurements suggest builders who understood planetary mechanics with remarkable precision. The measurement creates exact mathematical relationships with Earth's circumference, lunar cycles, and planetary orbital periods. These connections require knowledge of astronomy and mathematics that developed civilizations spent centuries trying to achieve. Yet Stone Age builders incorporated this knowledge into their measurement system thousands of years before advanced mathematics existed. The question becomes unavoidable. If people living 5,000 years ago could calculate Earth's dimensions, encode quantum physics constants in stone, and create acoustic instruments that affect human consciousness, what else could they accomplish? The Megalithic Yard represents only one aspect of their technological capabilities. The precision documented in stone monuments suggests knowledge systems that extended far beyond simple construction techniques. Archaeological evidence suggests our ancestors possessed scientific knowledge that was lost and had to be rediscovered thousands of years later. The Megalithic Yard disappeared around 2000 BCE along with the sophisticated engineering capabilities it represents. Later cultures built monuments in the same locations but couldn't maintain the mathematical precision or technical sophistication. Knowledge that had taken generations to develop vanished within decades, creating a technological regression that lasted for millennia. This pattern challenges fundamental assumptions about human progress and civilization development. We assume knowledge accumulates over time, with each generation building on previous achievements. The megalithic evidence suggests a different pattern. Advanced knowledge can be lost, forcing later cultures to rediscover principles that earlier peoples understood completely. Human development doesn't always move forward in straight lines. The Megalithic Yard proves that technological regression represents a real historical phenomenon. Sophisticated measurement systems, advanced mathematics, and precise engineering capabilities disappeared from European culture around 2000 BCE. Bronze Age and Iron Age peoples attempted to continue megalithic traditions but lacked the mathematical knowledge to maintain precision standards. They possessed the physical tools but had lost the intellectual framework that made those tools effective. Continuity of megalithic yard measurements in later European architecture proves that knowledge of the ancient system survived in fragmentary form. Medieval cathedral builders incorporated megalithic yard proportions into Gothic architecture. Renaissance architects used measurement ratios that create exact mathematical relationships with the megalithic yard. The ancient measurement standard influenced European construction across thousands of years, even when builders no longer understood its scientific significance. Modern technology continues revealing aspects of megalithic sophistication that earlier research methods couldn't detect. Laser scanning, computer analysis, and artificial intelligence algorithms identify mathematical relationships and engineering principles that exceed contemporary understanding. Each new discovery confirms that megalithic builders possessed knowledge that modern science is only beginning to appreciate. The megalithic yard represents proof that human knowledge doesn't always progress linearly. Advanced civilizations can lose sophisticated understanding that requires centuries or millennia to rediscover. The mathematical precision documented in Stone Age monuments demonstrates capabilities that challenge every assumption about prehistoric limitations. The implications extend beyond archaeology into fundamental questions about human potential and knowledge preservation. Sometimes the most important discoveries aren't about finding something new but recognizing what we've forgotten. The megalithic yard forces recognition that our ancestors achieved scientific understanding that disappeared from human knowledge for thousands of years. The evidence accumulated from decades of research points toward a conclusion that mainstream archaeology continues to resist. Stone Age builders possessed advanced knowledge that conventional theories about human development cannot explain. The evidence forces a fundamental question about human knowledge and technological progress. Modern laser scanning confirms Alexander Thom's measurements with millimeter precision. DNA analysis reveals the coordinated populations he theorized. Artificial intelligence discovers mathematical relationships he never imagined. Each technological advancement validates rather than debunks his controversial findings about Stone Age capabilities. The megalithic yard represents more than an ancient measurement system. It proves that sophisticated knowledge can be lost and forgotten for millennia before being rediscovered. The precision documented at megalithic sites demonstrates mathematical understanding that disappeared around 2000 BCE and wasn't matched again until modern times. The next time you encounter an ancient stone circle, you're witnessing evidence of knowledge that challenges everything we assume about